This is a very simple challenge for anyone who's a Trump supporter or a believer in scamdemics. Daniel Erickson and Arten Masihi, I can't pronounce his name, I'm not trying to make fun of him, I just don't know how to pronounce it, made a claim, several claims. But they made a falsifiable claim. That means it's a claim that you can double check, test yourself, and find out if it's true or not. The flu death rate and COVID-19's death rate are similar or identical or something. So let's find out what that is, because you can look it up. Now, the first thing that's going to happen is someone's going to scream voter fraud style conspiracy theories about death counts or illness counts. And depending on what you're trying to prove that day, you're going to say they're overestimating or underestimating the death rate or the illness rate, because you can't stick with one or the other number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a real simple method. I'm going to play devil's advocate or doctor's advocate. I'm going to use an estimate that has the highest death rate for the flu and the lowest death rate that I could find for COVID-19. I'm going to include the high ones. And I'm going to include the median and average. But here we go. These are medical professionals that can do the same thing you and I and every other idiot on the internet can do. Look shit up. And one of them mouths off in a very cavalier way, which is not something you want to hear out of a doctor when you're talking about death rates. Oh, they're similar. The other one didn't contradict him immediately. And they're the darlings of the conservative world for saying it. Okay. Death rate for 2017 flu. 29 million got sick, 60,600 dead is I'm just doing the average at this point. Let's do the average. The low end of it and the high end of it, the high end is like 0.3% when you do the math for it. I'm going to use 0.2 because it consistently shows up as 0.2% every year. This is something that even conservatives will quote. And you don't know what the death rate is until you've done all the counting at the end. And remember, a lot of people get the flu, but they don't get listed as having the flu because they have milder symptoms from the flu. Yes, this is apples to apples. We're talking about people who are being counted as having the flu at a rate that would make it, or at a level of intensity that would require that it be counted as a case. I'm using the same rules. Remember, COVID-19 has a very high incidence of people, a known number actually, of getting the disease and maybe being a carrier, but we don't have a confirmation on the number. And just like the flu, people can carry the flu. No, you always get it. Frog's gay. No, that's not true at all. You know that. A lot of you didn't go to the doctor or do anything else, including call in sick, which you should have, when you had the flu. You had a case of it that you could tolerate. You got sick, but you're able to fight it, or it just didn't do anything to you. We don't know everything about how diseases work, but we're going to compare them directly. And the quibbling will start because you have to do this. You can't not do it because you're compelled to do this for some reason that maybe you don't understand. 2018, it was the same rate, only there were 94,900, basically 95,000 dead. We're upping that number. And 44.8, or let's say 45 million sick. Now, the number does round off, depending on which way you do the numbers, to about 0.2%. It's not 1%, and it's not 0.1%. And it's not 0.5 or half a percent death rate. COVID-19's current death rate. This is the number of people who are counted dead. And immediately people will scam and scream. This is scamdemic. Because somehow or other, you have to have special pleading to fix this freaking problem here. 84,000 dead out of 1.4 million ill. That's like 1/20th, actually it's a different number, but 1/20th or so of the number of people who got sick in 2018 from the flu. But the death rate's very close to the same thing. Same death rate. Well, maybe it's even less dangerous because everybody got it, because I need to say that now so that these two doctors are correct. They're quoting the death rates as being a specific number of people sick that day. and a specific number of people dead that day. Aren't they? Or are they quoting not national, which would even out the numbers and give you an accurate number? If you're saying it's the national death rate from the flu last 2 years, but we're only talking about our county in Florida. Right? So, two doctors, they could double check each other. They could literally just fucking look the shit up off their cell phone, sitting there. We're wrong by a factor of literally 30 to 1, because that was 6% for COVID-19. Now that's one way of doing the numbers. The other one is 3%. But using the same way of counting, you end up with 0.1% or 0.2%, maybe, for the flu. So if we multiply it by 10, we get 2%, and then we multiply it by 3, we get 6%. So that's 30 times a higher death rate from COVID-19. This is an extremely vast level of I don't fucking care to look shit up to get this wrong, and you're a doctor. They're both doctors. They're in private practice. They run a couple of clinics, several clinics, or something like that. And they become national heroes to a certain group of people that absolutely defiantly and proudly will tell you, if you get them to stop, trying to look good, that they love to post things that are simply not real. Because it's a tactic. I'm talking about not the conservatives. I'm talking about the people you see on the internet playing at signal boosting this shit. All right. What group of people keep feeding you crap anonymously and get you to repost it out of a false redirection of patriotism, where you're telling your fellow Americans to do something reckless that will get other people killed, because it doesn't really hurt the person who's doing the reckless behavior most of the time. It's just that they can transfer the disease. You have people on the internet who have become your darlings, who say that viruses can't be transmitted. They have to be injected. Therefore, FEMA camp and Obama gate and shit like that. Political rhetoric is what people do when they're, it's sort of like yelling for your team, calling the other people, you're losers and suckers, when you haven't even finished the game yet. You're just doing it to mess with their heads. And that's what's going on here. But you're doing it about shit that's killing people. Stop it. COVID-19 has a death rate that's ridiculously different than the flu. Now here's where you get some karma points. Contact both doctors on their Facebook or Twitter and tell them you got the death rate for flu being similar to COVID-19 wrong, and you need to make an official posting or statement, because it makes you look medically incompetent, professionally incompetent. This is, if it was different, like it was 5%, let's say it was different by 0.2% for death rate for the flu and 0.3 for COVID-19, or 0.5. It would be worse, but it's not a big deal. It could be, but when it's literally 30 to 1, it's not a statistical error or somebody fucking with the numbers and jimmying it. I'm seeing people in comment sections complaining that Donald Trump is experiencing the deep state rigging an election by allowing more people to vote in person, which was the complaint that people had that was being prevented and suppressed. That's voter suppression, when you don't let them go to the polls. But when suddenly an extremely democratic population wants to go to the polls, suddenly that's a rigging of an election. And yes, I know there's details and yeah buts. I understand that. But if you're watching this video, you were looking for this video. You were looking to have it confirmed that you're right. You don't like being told you're wrong. Daniel Erickson and Artin Masani made a falsifiable statement, or at least one of them did and the other one didn't correct him, that the death rate for flu and COVID-19 were very similar or the same thing. I'm being generous about this, in a very cavalier way. In the interview, you can easily see, because it's not really censored. It's just not allowed on some platforms because they have a zero tolerance for bullshit now. If you put the wrong percentage for death rate You should have the video taken down because you're literally saying something that isn't true. You're lying. Or you're making a mistake and won't own up to it. No, I don't like YouTube censoring people. They'll censor me for posting a video that mentions them. It will happen. But some of you are in favor of censoring me for telling you that you can look this shit up and find out you're wrong about something. And then you'll do pushback, and you'll do cognitive dissonance and cognitive dissonance, where you refuse to accept a fact. I guarantee you, because of the way they're behaving, that if I sat them down and made them read the statistics, they would refuse to do so because it shows them that they simply made a mistake. And instead of owning up to it like every other scientist is supposed to do, and every other doctor, you just say, yeah, you made a mistake. Say it. They just misquoted a death rate, that's all. Whoop-de-doo, right? Right? Yes, it's a political year. It's apparently going to be maintained as one. Donald Trump didn't drop doing his politicking. He's always doing rallies. And then COVID-19 got in his way. And he's mad that his medical professionals that he has telling him and advising him disagree with him. Or more accurately, they're simply telling him he's wrong. Dr. Fauci is suddenly the enemy of all conservatives because he dared to point this out. There's one guy on Fox that slipped up and actually said that, yeah, Donald Trump is trailing Biden in the polls nationally. And people came unglued over that. The Supreme Court at one point suggested that he would have to show his tax records because the IRS and his lawyers all know that he lost money on a vast level and it would make him look bad. And he's angry. So that day he invented a nonsensical Twitter storm, trying to create attention to drive people away from all the other stories that were happening that day. For all I know, it could be some random crap. Making up Obamagate, which will be in the title of the video. If you insist on repeating things that are not true, everyone has the right to say you've lied. The death rate for the flu and the death rate for COVID-19 are not the same. They're not even comparable. And I'm doing this assuming that we're getting obviously a larger number of people who get the flu and don't report it because it's not bad enough for them to give a damn to do anything about it. They don't need to go into the hospital and they don't have to take off work because maybe they have a job where they can get away with still going to work while they're kind of sick. Everyone has had the flu and it's been mild enough they were able to still function. Every one of you knows a boss that says come in if you can. Work while you're hurt. You have to play hurt. Which, by the way, is really a stupid thing to do and should be illegal because it spreads the flu. You're all experiencing a world that was predicted at one time by an essay, or I can't find it, I still can't find it, but it was called How to Cure the Common Cold, the Hard Way and the Only Way, something like that. And it was that if you are sick, you wear a mask so you can't spread it to anybody, because this has been known since the 50s. They found it out by having doctors wear masks. A doctor can wear a mask while he's got a head cold or even an upper respiratory bacterial infection, still perform as a military doctor, and the patients don't show any increase in getting infections because the mask keeps him from infecting them, which is the entire point of the mask, the rubber gloves, and the gowns that they wear. They make it to where they can't infect their patient. But because that's altruistic, because you're not protecting yourself from jack shit, you're keeping yourself from hurting anyone accidentally. This is an admission, if you don't want to do that you don't care. I mean, I don't wear a mask because I literally just stay 8 feet away from everybody. And I make sure I do even larger distances than that. There's so few people outside that when I have to go back and forth to the store, I don't have to worry about it too much. I don't come in contact with anybody. But even I should be wearing a mask, right? But not for you, right? Selfishness isn't a political or ideological position. We're all selfish, me included. But these guys literally said something that was simply not true and haven't owned up to it, therefore it becomes a lie. That's the end of it. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that.